Rick Fox ending the game, hunched over his former teammate Lindsey Hunter and congratulating him as the clock ticks down. The Detroit Pistons have just shocked the Los Angeles Lakers 100-87 to win the NBA title.
Since the turn of the century, there's only been one team that won the championship with a top 3 defense, but a below-average offense. The 2004 Detroit Pistons. Ranked with the 18th best offense in the league along with the 2nd best defense. That team was unique in more ways than one. When people talk about the most unbreakable records in NBA history, I think this is a team record that's unbreakable. I don't foresee any team in the future who can win the championship with a lowly 18th best offense in the league. In fact, since 2016 until now, there's only been 2 teams that won the title with a better defense than offense. The 2020 Lakers and the 2022 Warriors. That's it. Every other team has won the championship with a better offense, some of them with a way better offense than defense. The 2016 Cavs, the 2018 Warriors, the 2021 Bucks, and the 2023 Nuggets all won the title with a defense that ranked outside the top 10. Before this has only happened 5 times in the history of the NBA, and yet it happened 4 times since 2016. What does this mean exactly? Well, it could mean that offenses around the league are getting so good, so much more efficient, that even the most suffocating of defenses is not enough. At a certain point, you need to be able to score. You need a consistent way to put points on the board, or else, you can't win. In this video, we're going to take a look at 2 teams with a staunch defensive identity, and the reason they won't be truly ready to compete in the playoffs until something changes.
Mo Wagner to steal. He's off and running. Wagner to the basket, puts it in.
So I recently launched my membership club for my channel. I'm in the process of working with editors to help me increase my video output. So instead of 1 video per week, I'm trying to aim for 2 videos per week, and they're gonna be longer and more detailed. I've always edited my own videos for like the last 8 years, so this is new for me. However, that comes at a cost. I've added this option to support me. For $2.99 a month, I'll be able to double my content, maybe even triple. And there's some perks on top of it too. If you do become a member, you'll get early access to my videos, loyalty badges, priority replies, and some cool face emojis of NBA players, which I'll be adding more of as more members join. Thank you again for all the support over the years, and thank you for those who are willing to support me on this new journey. The Orlando Magic. This is actually the 2nd year in a row the Orlando Magic boasted the league's 2nd-ranked defense. In both years, unfortunately, their offense has been near the bottom of the league, and from the looks of it, from the looks of their roster, this is an issue that's going to persist unless a major change happens. In recent times, they're the most extreme example of a team that relies solely on defense to win.
Goes inside, pump fake, rejected by Batazzi.
Their offense is literally on the level of like the Washington Wizards. But defensively, they have the perfect squad. Long, lengthy, athletic defenders, an established game plan with great communication to the point where it looks like their entire defense moves on a string. But the question in the modern NBA isn't how you can stop an opponent from scoring anymore. It's how you can slow down your opponent enough so you can outscore them. For the Orlando Magic, unfortunately, this is a question they cannot answer. They literally do not have the capability to outscore their opponent, and their offense, despite being the main point to address over the previous offseason, actually regressed even further. As with most struggling offenses, the main culprit is 3-point shooting. The Magic, as a team, finished dead last in 3-point percentage, at a putrid 31.8%. I mean, that was bad for like 2010, let alone 2025. And as their players saw their shooting regress, the rest of the league took notice. The scouting report for the Magic went from, oh, let's contest their shooters, to, nah, just let them shoot.
Banchero against Barnes.
He couldn't make that.
Couldn't hit that time.
Usually, if a team has 1 or 2 bad shooters on the floor, opponents in the playoffs will leave him open to focus on defending other big threats on the floor. For the Magic, they have so many bad shooters that even their good shooters became bad once they arrived to Orlando. For example, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Their acquisition from the 2024 offseason with the purpose of helping them space the floor with his shooting. Historically, KCP has been a very good shooter, ranging from a 39 to 42% three-point shooter in the last 5 years. And as a result, with zero spacing on the court, it makes it such a struggle for Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner to score, to create plays, or basically everything they do is much harder than it needs to be. They attract so much defensive attention because there's nobody else worth guarding. And so, for every bucket, for every point, they run through a damn gauntlet. On paper, the duo of Banchero and Wagner seemed like something out of a video game. Two guys who are both legit 6'10", who can put the ball on the floor, pass, dribble, finish at the basket. It's like the whole NBA caught a glimpse of the future, and this duo landed in Orlando, of all places.
You can't ask much more offensively out of what these top two players for Orlando bring. Wagner, so good in the air at the rim in orchestrating whatever shot he needs to in the moment.
But they're at the mercy of their own franchise. You put 3 competent shooters around them, and you should already go from a horrendous offense to a decent one. But it's more difficult than just that. There's the common criticism that until Banchero and Wagner develop a better shot themselves, they will never be consistent at carrying the offense. But have the critics realized that it's so hard to develop a better shot when you have such little space to see the rim? And when the spacing is non-existent, that's why other previously great shooters like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope struggle the second they land in Orlando. It's a domino effect, as everything wrong with their offense is connected to their inability to shoot the damn ball. Of course, there's plenty of other problems that's unrelated to their shooting. For instance, due to their over-reliance on these 6'10" behemoths, they don't have a true point guard. By that, I mean a point guard who can slow down the pace, control the offense, put their best scorers in their best spots to score, and most importantly, not turn the ball over. You know what's funny? They drafted 3 different point guards since 2020. Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, and Anthony Black, all of whom were project players and none of whom can shoot nor reliably run the offense. In fact, they all kinda play like a smaller version of Banchero and Wagner, which is not what they need. They need a true point guard. There is a bright side, however. While most young teams struggle with their discipline defensively, the Magic have already established themselves in that department. There's little need to instill that kind of discipline, when everyone they've drafted has slid into this well-oiled defensive juggernaut very well. It's the offense that needs a complete overhaul. And in this case, with their core already having spent several years together, a change is needed. Heck, just look at what the Pistons did. In a single season, they went from one of the worst teams in history to a solid offensive team by just grabbing some veteran shooters and a coaching change. Perhaps the Magic could use something similar. At least they have a solid foundation to build on. The Houston Rockets. Among the most physical teams in basketball, the Rockets have held onto a top 2 seed in the West for much of the season, built on the backs of Ime Udoka's rugged defensive coalition. They rank 4th in the league in defense, 13th in offense.
Eason drives, kicks, Jaylen Green, got it on! Big shot!
While not as bad as the Magic and equipped with more explosive scorers, the inconsistency of their primary scorers is what separates average offenses like the Rockets with elite offenses like the Thunder or Celtics. In the series against Golden State, a team that finished the season with a worse record, a worse offense and defense, they struggled throughout the series, desperately trying to lift their stagnant offense off the ground. Unlike the Warriors, who boasts a plethora of experienced veterans who have the willpower and extensive offensive bag to give them a steady, consistent stream of points, the Rockets, sadly, do not have that. Contrary to the Magic, who simply don't have the personnel to operate a great offense, the Rockets, on the other hand, could potentially be bottlenecked by their own coach, Ime Udoka. Udoka, as we all know, comes from a long line of coaches who prioritize defense and veteran experience, preferring his players to fall into one of those categories. Quote, "We're only as good as our one-on-one defense. We're only as good as all our 5 on the court. And any weak link is exploited." He's not particularly happy when someone scores on Amen. In Ime's world, that should be an impossibility. And if it occurs, it's because Amen did something wrong. That's just the bottom line with him. He lets you play free, but he's going to expect you to play hard. He's going to expect you to defend. And if you're not doing that, you're probably not going to be in the game. Ime Udoka not only prioritizes defense, but perhaps he's so engulfed by it that he doesn't care enough on offense. This is a popular talking point among the Rockets fan base. When a player is performing badly on defense, he would pull them out right away. But if he's performing badly on offense, he would let them stay in the game. If he's hustling on defense. Which, I mean, it's a coaching style that works for some teams, but not for others.
Thompson, not much of a threat from outside. Şengün for 3. Also not much of a threat from outside.
For Houston, their weakness on offense boils down to 2 main components. One, the lack of a pick-and-roll abuser. Jaylen Green runs the pick-and-roll on 43% of his possessions, among the highest in the league, but only scores 0.92 points per possession. Fred VanVleet runs it 36% of the time, also very high among the league, but scores only 0.87 points per possession. For comparison, here are the numbers for some other guards. The lack of a player who can abuse their defender in a pick-and-roll has created a situation where the Rockets can go long stretches without scoring a single point. In the modern day of NBA basketball, every elite offense requires a guy who can dominate in the pick-and-roll, whether it's as a ball handler or as the receiver. The Rockets don't have either, and it's actually alarming at how bad their backcourt is at generating points in the pick-and-roll. Like, VanVleet has an excuse due to his size and lack of explosiveness, but Jaylen Green? His struggle stems from his decision-making, or lack of decision-making, and poor shot-taking. Now, as somebody who's followed Jaylen Green for basically his entire career, I thought by now he'd for sure be developing into, an Anthony Edwards kind of player. Instead, his highly inconsistent shooting is on full display for the entire world to see. I mean, just look at the series against the Warriors. 7 points on 3 of 15, followed by 38 points on 13 of 25, followed by 9 points on 3 of 8. And it just bounces back and forth. I mean, sometimes he looks like the second coming of Anthony Edwards. Other times, he looks completely invisible. It's the same problem he's had as a rookie, and I'm not sure he'll ever be the reliable, dependable scorer the Rockets need him to be. 2. A half-assed, heliocentric game plan. The biggest issue with the offense is the lack of identity. The Rockets, upon the hiring of Ime Udoka, made it very clear he wanted to run the offense more through Alperen Şengün. On paper, it seems to have worked. They've become a playoff team for the first time since the James Harden era, and Şengün himself experienced a spark of success, making his first ever All-Star team and putting up averages that folks compare to a young Nikola Jokic. In fact, look at the stat lines comparing a 21-22-year-old Şengün to a 21-22-year-old Jokic. I'd say it looks pretty similar, don't you think? However, much like how we used to compare Domantas Sabonis to Jokic, there are parts of Şengün's game that make this comparison not as accurate as you think. While Denver fully committed to building around Jokic fairly early in his career, the Rockets have still not fully committed to Şengün being their focal point. They don't know if they want the whole offense to revolve around Şengün's scoring and passing ability, hence the term heliocentric game plan, where the entire team is built to rely on a single player's abilities. Think of Jokic or Luka on the Mavs, or Westbrook on the Thunder, or Harden on the Rockets. While this team will always be a great defensive team under Ime Udoka, they lack an identity on offense, and from the looks of it, he doesn't seem to care about it that much. Of course, it's not like Şengün is the second coming of Jokic either. he doesn't have the same feel for the ball offensively. His touch outside of 5 feet is so poor. Even a younger Jokic was a much better shooter than Şengün is right now. While Şengün is a great passer, it's not even close to the same court vision as Jokic, an all-time legendary passer. Şengün's career path is more likely to follow the likes of Sabonis, a guy who never developed his range and still sports a limited offensive game that isn't good enough to carry an entire team. Obviously, I'll be ecstatic to be proven wrong. But it's not like the next Jokic grows on trees. And Şengün is simply a very, very good player, but it's hard to say he'll develop the same way. In recent years, there have been other teams near the top of the charts in defense, but due to a mediocre or straight-up putrid offense, they've yet to find success in the playoffs. One example is the Utah Jazz during the Rudy Gobert years. With a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, the Jazz ranked in the top 4 in defense 4 times in 5 seasons. Except in those 5 years, they never even got past the second round of the playoffs. Not even once. In 2021, they even had the best record in the league and lost to a crippled Clippers team. The disappointment was unbearable for a fan base that believed this was truly the team that could take them to the promised land. What they were really missing was any sort of competent offense in the playoffs. The amount of times they had to rely on Donovan Mitchell to create something out of thin air, it was just too many times. And with no other consistent shot creation, it was an obstacle they could not overcome.
In disgust, Donovan Mitchell kicking a chair during that last break.
In the blink of an eye, the Jazz realized the way they built their roster was never gonna win anything. And thus, Mitchell and Gobert were gone in a single summer. In the modern day and age, the idea that defense wins championships, it's still relevant, but it is antiquated. You can't win with a horrendous defense, of course, but you need an offense that's well built. In an era where three-point shooting and offensive efficiency has exploded across the league, there's only so much a defense can do to stop it. It's more likely a team goes on a three-point shooting rampage and catapults themselves into a victory, as opposed to a team locking down and slowing down some of the league's most dynamic offenses. Though one thing that still remains relevant, defense can always be consistent and stable. Whereas offense, sometimes you can't rely on your shots falling. That's why, even though critics say defense has been non-existent in the past several years, it's still as relevant as it's ever been. It's just, offense is more important now. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What's your opinion on the Magic or the Rockets, two heavy-handed defensive squads, with offenses that need some work if they truly want to contend for the title? Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.